What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 14. Sleeper picks.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to give you some of my top DFS sleeper picks, super low priced and low ownership players that could crush value this week and give your lineup an advantage over the field. These are risky plays, meant for large tournaments only. Don't go all in on any of these guys. They are high risk, high reward picks. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Oh, and good news, guys. Make sure to stay tuned to the very end of this video because we removed the box that was popping up and blocking the lineup. So now you can see a full lineup using these picks that we made in this video if you stay to the very end. Okay, guys, NFL Week 14. Let's take a look at the quarterback position. So my sleeper pick at the quarterback position is Lamar Jackson from the Baltimore Ravens playing the Cleveland Browns, who have a good defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson has averaged 24.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 11.9 rush attempts per game. He's only going to be about 3% owned, projected at 22.4 fantasy points here in Week 14. He's $7,400 DraftKings salary and $500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 42.5 points scored in this game, with the Ravens trailing by 3. Okay, so I get that Lamar Jackson is $7,400 DraftKings salary. So for $200 more, you can get Tom Brady. For $400 more, you can get Josh Allen. And for $600 more, you can get Patrick Mahomes. So that's the reason his ownership is so low. But I think that makes him a good sleeper pick this week because this guy's got monster upside at low ownership. So I like Lamar Jackson here versus the Cleveland Browns. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. My sleeper pick at the running back position is D'Onta Foreman from the Tennessee Titans playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have the 6th worst defense overall, and they give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. D'Onta Foreman, he got 19 rush attempts and 1 pass target last game, scored 14 fantasy points. He's going to be about 3% owned, projected at 10.1 fantasy points here in Week 14. He's $5,100 DraftKings salary and $800 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 43.5 points scored in this game, with the Tennessee Titans favored by 8.5. Now, the reason his ownership is so low is because Dontrell Hilliard, the other running back for the Tennessee Titans, got 12 rush attempts and 2 pass targets and scored 22 fantasy points last week. Dontrell Hilliard is also a sleeper pick, only going to be about 2% owned. So the problem here is that these backs are going to be sharing the load, so it's hard to know which one of these guys is going to score the fantasy points. But I do like the salary of both these guys. Dontrell Hilliard is $5,300 DraftKings salary, $1,700 more on FanDuel. So I think he might be a little overpriced there on FanDuel, but I like that DraftKings price. So on DraftKings, I think if you want to make your lineup different, you could go with either of these running backs from the Tennessee Titans, either Dontrell Hilliard or D'Onta Foreman here versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Oh, and it looks like we have a value play that's opened up at the running back position. Jeff Wilson Jr. from the San Francisco 49ers. Looks like he's going to be the starting running back here versus the Cincinnati Bengals, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing running backs. And Jeff Wilson Jr. is only $4,400 DraftKings salary, $500 more on FanDuel. He's going to be about 10% owned, projected at 48.5 fantasy points. Projected at 11.1 fantasy points, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 48.5 points scored in this game, with the 49ers favored by 2. Wow, imagine if he did score 48.5 fantasy points. Well, that's not going to happen, but he is only $4,400 DraftKings salary to get a starting running back who should be able to carry the load in this game. I think he's an interesting value play, so I like Jeff Wilson Jr. as a value play here versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So just looking at ownership here, a low ownership wide receiver, if you want to stack this guy with Lamar Jackson, take a look at Marquis Brown from the Baltimore Ravens playing the Cleveland Browns. Marquis Brown has averaged 17.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9 pass targets per game. He's only going to be about 4% owned, projected at 14.2 fantasy points here in week 14. He's $6,300 DraftKings salary and $700 more on FanDuel. So this guy gets a ton of targets. So I think a stack with Lamar Jackson and Marquis Brown is an interesting low ownership stack that has monster upside if it pays off. So I like Marquis Brown as a sleeper pick here versus the Cleveland Browns.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, but another sleeper pick that I like is Michael Gallup from the Dallas Cowboys playing the Washington football team, who have the 4th worst defense overall, and they give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Michael Gallup has averaged 11.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.8 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 4% owned, projected at 11.1 fantasy points here in week 14. He's $5,500 DraftKings salary and $600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 48 points scored in this game, with the Cowboys favored by 4.5. Now, Michael Gallup has scored 15, 19, and 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games, getting 9, 8, and 10 pass targets. So Amari Cooper is going to be back, and that's why Michael Gallup's ownership has dropped, because Amari Cooper is only $5,900 DraftKings salary, going to be about 8% owned. So for $400 more, you can get Amari Cooper. But that does make Michael Gallup an interesting sleeper pick here,
at low ownership, a guy that should still get plenty of pass targets. He has 15 plus fantasy point upside in a fantastic matchup. So I like Michael Gallup as a sleeper pick here versus the Washington football team. Now I just want to mention that it was kind of hard to find sleeper picks this week because all the ownership at most positions are kind of bunched up between a handful of guys like Stephon Diggs, 18% owned, DJ Moore, 15% owned, Hunter Renfrow, 15% owned, Mike Williams, 21% owned. So it doesn't leave much ownership for these lower salary guys. There's no really quality guy that's going to be like 1 or 2% owned. So I'm looking at sleeper picks that are about 3%, 3 or 4% owned here. That ownership is low enough to get it done. So let's move on to the tight end position. At the tight end position, my sleeper pick is Evan Ingram from the New York Giants playing the LA Chargers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the third most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Evan Ingram has averaged 7.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.2 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 75% of the snaps, only going to be about 2% owned. So this is a traditional sleeper pick here. Normally I do like my sleeper picks 1 to 2% owned. That's super low ownership. And he's projected at 7.9 fantasy points here in week 14. He's 3,500 DraftKings salary, 1,800 more on FanDuel. So I love that DraftKings price. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 43 points scored in this game, with the New York Giants trailing by 9.5. So you got a fantastic matchup, a passing game script, and Evan Ingram has scored 10, 7, and 3 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 5, 6, and 5 pass targets. So he's getting plenty of volume. I like that he's getting 5 to 6 pass targets a game. If he can find the end zone, he should be able to crush value here at only 3,500 DraftKings salary. So I like Evan Ingram as a sleeper pick here versus the LA Chargers.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.